Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boscheman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we are going to take a look at the numerology of Pluto dipping into Aquarius from March 23rd, 2023, through June 2023. Now, I know that, there's plenty of resources out there that address this and what to expect, but I wanted to, again, sort of look at the energy with the numerology because I find it kind of interesting what's being highlighted. So I want to share that with you, and then I will also break it down for each life path number so that you can kind of understand what you might expect on a more sort of concentrated personal level with these energies. So Pluto's stay in Aquarius for the next couple of months anyway will give us a taste of what we may further expect or what might be highlighted when Pluto ingresses into Aquarius for its more lengthy stay of 20 plus years, which will begin March 2024. So this sort of grand entrance on March 23rd, 2023, highlights the energies of the 15-6 collectively. So we'll all feel this influence to some degree, even if it's more subtle. Because again, this is a lengthy stay. Pluto moves very, very slowly. And so the effects are not typically felt right out of the gate, although sometimes it can be. But a lot of times it's more progressive, right? But we will all feel this change and transformation because Pluto signifies death, transformation, rebirth, right? So whatever it touches, it's going to transform in some significant way. And so in the case of numerology, it's touching or highlighting the energies of the 15-6. So when we look at or break down the energies of the 15-6, we have the energies of the 1, the 5, and the 6. So the 1 is going to bring into focus independence, autonomy, self, the power back to the individual, right? Transformation, change in, again, shifting the power back to the individual. Taking responsibility for our own life and the direction of it, right? Taking an initiative, being more assertive and more direct within our communication of what it is that we need and what we will or will not tolerate, right? What it is that we will sort of compromise on or not compromise on, and what we won't sacrifice for when it comes to what we need in order to thrive. The 1 energy is going to influence or sort of bring into focus stepping outside of our comfort zone, taking appropriate risks to create a better way of doing things, not just for self necessarily, but for the good of all. So being assertive, taking those risks, taking the initiative, again, to come up with resources, solutions for the greater community. The 1 energy can emphasize confidence in finding our voice and using it. Less control from the external or not accepting control from the external, and bringing the focus back to control within our own lives and our destination. We can see shifts around the 1 energy in how we own our own space and how we show up in the world, honoring our own unique identity and our own unique contributions. We'll be asked with this energy to take responsibility for those actions and take accountability for how our actions affect the all. Now, the 6 energy emphasizes emotions and how we work with those charged energies, taking responsibility for working with them and managing how we express them, using that energy for good rather than destruction and separation. Now, again, emotions are such a hot topic because people immediately, when you say control your emotions or manage your emotions, people immediately want to jump to suppression or avoidance. And that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is working with your emotions in a very healthy way so that you're not expressing them in a destructive way, right? You can work with, honor, acknowledge your emotions without sort of directing them or expressing them in a way that causes harm to self or others. So there may be more of an emphasis on emotions, where for so long, emotions for women, men, have been really sort of taboo and suppressed, right? For women, if you're emotional, you're hysterical, right? You're out of control and you're not taken seriously. For men in society, if they express emotions, they are weak, right? And of course, I'm not talking about like anger and that sort of thing. For whatever reason, we've become a society that respects expressing anger and violence and all those things. And so I think there's probably going to be a shift where we start respecting having greater control and management of those emotions rather than letting the emotions control us, right? It's so much healthier for self and others when we can manage and work with that very charged energy in a healthy way. And the 6 energy being highlighted puts emphasis on that. I expect there to be, with this 6 energy, more emphasis on the energy of the divine feminine. Now, I'm going to be talking a little bit about divine feminine energy, divine masculine energy, or feminine energy, masculine energy. This has nothing to do with gender. This is the energy, right? How we express that energy. So keep that in mind as we move through this. I know that if you listen to my channel, you already are aware of that, but I'm just putting that out there. So with the 6, I do expect to see a greater emphasis on the energy of the feminine. So more receptivity, more compassion, more empathy, less focus on striving, and more focus on work-life balance. Because right now, there's definitely an imbalance there. It's more about, how much you can do and how often and what your success rate is and all of those things. There's much more emphasis on the end goal and striving to get there. And I think there will be a shift there where, in one way or another, the focus sort of balances out and we start looking at, again, that work-life balance, the sort of honoring the holistic need for rest and rejuvenation, more balance and harmony rather than separation and man-made boundaries, right? So we may see less borders and more unity, figuratively speaking, but also literally. We might see sort of borders between countries open up and get less sort of strict or rigid, where it's much easier to cross borders and, experience different cultures and experience living in another country without major restrictions type thing. And so much less about, this is like ownership, like this is mine, so you can't have it type thing, right? And it's like, more openness when it comes to, just resources and, again, sharing wisdom and knowledge and all of these things that to some degree do have a level of restriction, right? There's definitely very strong man-made boundaries, whether you agree with it or not, that separate countries, right? Individuals, peoples, community, etc. And I think that with the emphasis on the 6, there's going to be much more about the greater community. So a greater coming together. So lessening of those borders. Again, whether you like it or not, this is the energy that's being highlighted. And so again, it will hopefully, or at least the goal of the energy would be, of the 6, right? is to bring people together, to work together more and be less divided. And so that brings into focus man-made boundaries and alleviating them or lessening them in some way to, again, find balance. I believe under the sixth energy, we'll see a deeper understanding of the needs of others. And again, the greater community, taking into account other perspectives, other ideas. This is a big one. And this is something that we're not very good at. We try to be, but it's definitely something that needs to come into balance, right? And I think the energy of this, Pluto highlighting this sixth energy is going to bring that into the focus. Now, the 5 brings the change, brings the transformation, brings the unconventional ideas. And so one of those things would be like if you felt sort of some kind of emotional charge about me talking about man-made boundaries and, countries opening their borders more and being a little bit more open with that. This is an unconventional idea, right? I mean, other people have had it, obviously, but it's like one of those things where it's outside the box. It's outside the norm. It's outside of the way that we've always done things. And so the 5 energy is going to ask us to think differently, to do differently, come up with those unconventional ideas and then do something with them to assist in merging the energies of the 1, which is more masculine energy of action, self-giving, with the more feminine energies of the 6, receptivity, stillness, compassion. Pluto in Aquarius has the potential over the next 20 plus years to lessen the gap between the divine feminine energies and the divine masculine energies, to create greater balance and harmony in how we honor self and how we honor others in a more elevated way. So we hear a lot of people talking about the rise of the divine feminine, and really what the potential is that the focus or the emphasis on the masculine energy will start to lessen as the feminine energies begin to rise, and they will meet somewhere in the middle, right? Balancing those energies, because if we have too much of either, it's imbalance, it's disharmony. And so the goal, and Pluto is always, the goal of Pluto is to come in, dismantle, and then force rebuilding of something for it to become more spiritually elevated, to step into a higher octave, right? So where there is imbalance, Pluto will come in and sort of rip it apart, break it back down to its core, and force us to rebuild in some way. But the goal, though it can be challenging when we're in it, is to get us to collectively a higher octave, right? A higher consciousness, an elevated state of being. So it completely makes sense, given the imbalance between the feminine and the masculine energies, that Pluto would come in and put a focus on this in the age of Aquarius, which again is unconventional thinking, doing things differently, taking into consideration self and all. So big energies that we're working with here for the next 20 plus years. And I will say that change does not happen without resistance. So we can expect, with 5 energy, we can expect the unexpected. When it comes to those not ready or willing to meet in the middle, some people do thrive off of separation and won't give in easily. But Pluto is a relentless energy, and so is the energy of the 5. So though it will probably, likely be slow and progressive and not without chaos and conflict, when, this transit is over, we'll likely see greater balancing of these energies collectively than we have ever seen, in thousands and thousands of years throughout history. I certainly hope so anyway. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at how these energies may affect each life path number. Life Path Sevens. So you all, oh boy. So you all, for this period that Pluto is in Aquarius, again, for like the next 20 some years, you're going to be working with not only the energies that we talked about in the intro, but also the energies more sort of concentrated of the 13-4. So this is big energy. This is Plutonic energy. This is very much death, transformation, rebirth. Now, how it shows up in your life, of course, is going to depend on your own circumstances, right? But anytime 13-4 energy is around, it's bringing some kind of major transformation, some kind of major shift. But there's a lot that goes into this energy. It's very nuanced. And so what I always sort of say about 13-4 energy, or sort of the, sort of analogy that I use is that of the lotus flower. This is very much lotus flower energy. This next 20 years for you all is going to ask of you to see a vision and create something from that vision that is building something very beautiful from something not so beautiful. And so what I mean by that is the 13-4 has a knack for looking at a bunch of mud and saying, wow, I can see something really beautiful growing there, and nobody understanding it, and people saying, oh, you're crazy, that's not going to happen, you can't do it. But the 13-4 is like, nope, I see it, I'm going to make it happen. And it's 4 energy, so it's very much committed, it's very loyal, it's ambitious, but it's very steadfast. So it's going to commit to it, right? So the 4 or 13-4 is going to plant the seed in the mud and then have patience to see the lotus flower eventually bloom, right? Come up. And so something very beautiful growing from something not so beautiful, even though others could not understand it. And so this period for you all can very much be one of that, building something very beautiful from a space or an experience that was not beautiful. I also use the example of the pearl, right? So like the oyster, having the silt and the dirt and the sand, right? Having a piece of sand, I think it is like they get it like in their shell, right? And it's sort of aggravating. And so it keeps putting attention to that until it formulates the pearl. So again, creating something beautiful from something uncomfortable, something not beautiful, right? So that is ultimately the energy of the 13-4. So whatever change and transformation and shifts come in for you all over the next 20-year period, and again, this is a very slow-moving kind of progressive energy with Pluto. Usually, it can come in as a lightning bolt. It just depends, right? But typically speaking, especially with the 4 energy, this is going to be something that when you commit to this, it's going to take time. It's going to take loyalty. It's going to take commitment to not give up on it too easily. Because remember, you're building something beautiful from something not so beautiful. And that is going to take time. And that is going to potentially bring in experiences where others are not going to understand. But if you understand, then this is your pearl that you're creating. So you've got to keep going with it. And ultimately, with 13-4 energy, more times than not, you get the pearl, right? But you've got to commit to it and stick with it and keep going. So there's definitely something in some area of your life that you are being asked to transform in a very sort of visceral, very deep way, and creating something incredibly beautiful from it that you are loyal to and committed to and won't give up too easily when the going gets tough. The other thing that 13-4 energy brings into awareness is words. And so using your words for good. It's very easy because, again, we have like the 1 energy, the 3 energy, and the 4 energy. But it's very easy with that 3 energy to use, with the 1 and the 3, to use your words for self-serving purposes, right? And so what I mean by that is, during this period, you can use your words to inspire, uplift, empower, create things, right? Or you can use them to disempower, to suppress, to tear down, to cut. When they say things like words can be used as weapons, that is absolutely correct. Because if you think about it, when someone says something to you, if it hits the right chord, if it hits the right nerve, that's something that will stick with you for years, right? So words are powerful. And when it comes to 13-4 energy, this is a big focus on words, the written word, the spoken word. So over the next 20 years, make sure that you've got integrity behind the messages that you put out. You don't have control over how that message lands, right? Each their own, and each person is going to see that through their own lens. However, you absolutely have control over the message that you're relaying, right? You don't have a control over how it lands, but you have control over what you say. And if there's integrity behind it, then those words can do a lot of good and can inspire people and create a movement under this energy in a big way. So incredibly, incredibly beautiful energy. But yeah, anytime 13-4 energy is present, there's going to be major transformation. There's going to be major change. And it can feel chaotic until you figure out what it is, where your footing is at and what kind of pearl you're trying to create, right? Or where it is that you want to plant your lotus flower. So this can be incredibly beautiful energy, incredibly beautiful, but just be prepared for, major transformation. This is also the energy of Mother Earth. 4 energy is that of the earth. And so there could be strong ties to the earth, to the planet, to the divine feminine. 13 is that of Venus, the energy of Venus, which is interesting because we have Pluto and now you all have the energy of Venus. So there's definitely something here for you all about bringing in that divine feminine energy and bringing through your words awareness about it, right? Same thing with how you work with the masculine energy through your words. So lot here. I could spend a lot of time on this, but I think you get the idea. So the goal of the next 20 so years for you all is really going to be planting those lotus flowers in the mud, right? In areas that are not so beautiful, so that you can create beauty in spaces that there is ugliness, right? Or not so much beauty. So incredibly beautiful 7s. And, if anyone can do it, you all can. So I hope it's a beautiful 20-year period for you all. And watch your words. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.